Nolan, I am going to hit the gavel.
Okay, I'm ready.
Me too.
We'd just like to welcome everybody here to the Cache County Council tonight. Hopefully there's a few people also online. Are they starting to grab it? We don't know. Okay, that's fine. We'll start by having an opening by Council Member Nolan Gunnell.
I'll give my opening comments in the form of a prayer. Our Father in heaven, we come before thee this day. We give thee thanks for this opportunity to meet. We give thanks for this form of government which we have, Heavenly Father. We're grateful for this country and the freedom and the peace which we enjoy. As we enjoy this, we also give thanks to those current and past who have sacrificed so much for our freedom, and we thank them for that. We ask thee that we might do the business that we should in a proper manner. We give thanks again for all that we have and for this country, and this we say in the name of thy Son, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
Now
Amen.
please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much, Nolan. We appreciate that. We'll now have, I'll entertain a motion for the approval of the agenda.
So
Or
moved.
excuse me, the amended agenda, right?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded that we approve the amended agenda. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? It's unanimous. How about the minutes from September 17th?
I have just one note on the meeting, regular meeting agenda. I had made a motion on accepting the budget submitted by the executive's office. And it said second, and there was no name listed. So I wondered if anybody remembers who made the second.
It was I.
Mark?
Doesn't say me.
It does say that Mark seconded the.
Okay. Otherwise, with that, I would move approval of the minutes.
Second.
Moved and seconded that we approve the minutes of September 17th, 2024. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? I'll abstain. I wasn't there. So now any items on the county executive?
Yes, just one item. I would like to remind everybody about our 4th annual Cache Valley Cheese and Dairy Festival that will be happening this weekend, Friday and Saturday, at the Cache County Fairgrounds. That's the 27th and 28th. On Friday, it'll go from 10 to 6, then on Saturday from 10 to 5. It's free admission, and there are a lot of great vendors and activities, music. I just want to thank the sponsors who've helped with that, especially Gosner Foods, who is our title sponsor. And I hope everybody finds some time to come out Friday or Saturday to enjoy the cheese and dairy products from Cache County. That's all I have this evening. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. We'll now turn the time over to Sandy, if you'll go ahead and take,
Is
hang on.
Craig here?
Nope.
Not yet, so we'll postpone that one for a few minutes. Mr. Mathis,
Oh,
ready?
Oh, he's right
Oh,
there.
there's Craig right there.
We'll trade it.
He needs to settle down.
Yeah.
Okay. Turn it over to you and share us some information on the opioid settlements.
Yeah, I just want to appreciate the opportunity. If you remember, we. Go ahead, just. We presented a conceptual plan, just roll back in time a little bit. When we realized that the counties were going to get the funding through these settlements, all 3 counties asked us to work with community partners to develop some sort of plan. And I'm just going to give a quick overview of that plan. There we go. Good. I just wanted to remind you of the process we went through to get here. We brought, in Cache County, these are the partners that we brought together to really talk about looking at what were the restrictions on these funds, and then what can we actually do with these, where were the gaps that we could utilize those. And we brought the conceptual plan to you. The first was with the acute crisis that we have is focusing on treatment and trying to get those that are dealing with an opioid addiction, the treatment that they need. And then hopefully being able to have them discharged into a community that has better, lower risk factors, better protective factors, and that will be another. But we were really looking at how we also create better connection in our community between those. How do we offer what we call warm handoffs between entry points for treatment across our community? And this is, you can read this, but these are just the things from the opioid settlement that we said that we were going to focus on around treatment. Much of that being around those warm handoffs and how do we create better connectedness between individuals that are suffering from a substance abuse disorder or mental health condition. So these were the approved sections that we did. And I just wanted to give you a brief, after 1 year of receiving the funds, these funds contributed to, so it didn't cover the complete cost because we braided the funds together, but they had a role in helping 142 individuals receive treatment in Cache County for opioid addiction. That's therapy. The next one down is the medically assisted treatment. So 20 of those individuals, their addiction rose to the level that they needed medically assisted treatment, and they were referred to medically assisted treatment, where they were prescribed some form of medication to help them in their treatment process as well. So those are our outcomes. We still need to do, I will admit, we still need to do a better job of how do we create that connectedness? How do we do a better job with the warm handoff? But we're still working on that and plan to continue to work on improving that process. The next section was really focused on prevention. How do we get further upstream? We got to start doing things differently. If we're just treating everyone who gets, who happens to have an opioid addiction, we're not solving the problem. We got to stop people from actually getting to the place of addiction. And so the Cache Opioid Advisory Board recommended that 30% of the opioid settlement funds be spent on prevention, with 70% of those funds being spent on treatment. The primary goal of this was funding community anti-drug coalitions that engage in drug prevention efforts. And I've actually asked one of our team members who's been doing that to come talk a little bit about that and what she's been able to accomplish. So Maddie Taylor has been brought on to help us with that, and I'm going to let her talk about the work that she's been doing to get further upstream in our county.
Thank you so much, Jordan. Thank you guys for having us here. So over the course of the past year, then we have worked to start a coalition, specifically up in the northern Cache area. And so up on the board, then it shows the 10 cities and towns that it specifically covers. It's any youth in the Green Canyon or Skyview High School areas. And so as part of this, right when we were starting, we conducted some one-on-one interviews with key stakeholders within the community to begin to kind of gauge for this community readiness to see how ready they were for these prevention strategies to start to be implemented. And we found that we were at a level 2, which is kind of this resistance, maybe a little bit of denial stage. And so that's kind of our first start as a coalition, is to really begin to address this awareness and begin to increase this awareness of letting them know of the opioid-related problems that we are experiencing here. And so we are currently in phase 2 of the Communities That Care process. The Communities That Care process is a framework that we're using to really follow. It's been evidence-based for a number of years, and we currently have about 11 key leaders and 11 community board members who have joined our efforts with this coalition, and we're seeing a lot of great help with them being involved. School district members and members of local businesses and nonprofits have all contributed to these efforts. And so we're beginning to move into the phase 3, which would be to look at the data in a really in-depth form to find what we can specifically do as a coalition. So that's kind of our next steps. I did want to just take just 1 second to share a few of the activities and programs that we've already been implementing that we've seen a lot of success with. And so the first one was National Prescription Drug Take-Back Day, which is something that the Drug Enforcement Administration, DEA, puts on as a nationwide organization. And so we participated in that and had a location in Smithfield and collected 18 pounds of opioid prescription medications. And then those are then safely disposed. And so keeping those in safe places and safely disposed can really bring a lot of safety to our community. Next, we had the Smithfield Health Days where we talked to community members about it one-on-one. We also have begun to teach naloxone trainings to community members and community organizations. And naloxone is a opioid overdose reversal drug, and it's safe and legal to the community. And so we've worked to begin to start teaching those trainings so that we can begin to educate the public on areas of opioid overdose, what can we do to help that. And finally, we've been working with the Cache Valley Strongways to implement some messaging out there for their 2024 season so that anyone that comes through the Strongways can see this positive messaging. And so we've seen a lot of great progress just in this past year of using this funding for these anti-drug coalitions. And we're looking forward to continue our efforts and see what more we can do. So thank you so much.
Can I ask a question?
Before she sits down.
Yes, yes, sorry, yes, any questions, yes.
Sandy, go ahead.
I just wondered if you have concentrated or thought at all about people who are coming out of incarceration, who maybe have gone through a program and gotten clean while they're in the jail system, and then helping them to not fall back into those ways?
Yeah, that's a great question. Would that be more on the kind of recovery side?
Yeah, that would be part of the warm handoff effort that we're trying to continue to develop, and it's something that was talked about that we really need to focus on. And it is, I think, part of this integrated plan. If you look at this up there, what you're seeing in the middle is you have our county jail, we have a receiving center, we have a hospital. All these things are entry points for individuals who may have overdosed or who may have been arrested for drug use or who may be actively seeking help. So these are entry points, but we need to create that connection. And how do we help those individuals create that connection that helps them address some of the other issues that they may be having that are systemic to their addiction, which is, issues around employment and housing and other things like that. How do we create that connection? But what Maddie works on is outside of that. That's what that red line is. That's our community. We need to be able to, if we can get somebody to recovery where they're no longer an addict, they're gainfully employed, they're contributing to society, we also have to have a community that creates factors that have less of a chance for them to slip back, right? And that's what Maddie is trying to work on further upstream. So creating, like I said before, decreasing the risk factors and increasing the protective factors. How connected is our community to one another? That's one of those protective factors. So that's the whole conceptual model. We've had 1 year to start picking away at it. It's something that we need to continue to work on. And I think the connectedness is the thing that we're trying to understand what all those resources are and how we can leverage those and maximize those.
So on your slide, you had the northern cache area. Is there a southern cache area as well?
Yes. Yep. And so they are using different funding sources. So these funds have been specifically allocated to the northern cache area, but we do have a southern cache area and a Logan City area with each of their own respective coalitions.
Okay.
Does that make sense, Nolan?
I'm wondering why we split it that way, but I guess it's so you can cut the cake and address certain issues at certain times.
We've kind of chosen in our area to do it by the cone sites of the schools. Does that make the high schools? And that's how we've decided to do it. Before, the funding that we had previous to having this opioid funding only allowed us to have Logan and the south end. This now allowed us to expand into a coalition into the north end, which we didn't have a staff member to be able to do and address. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So this funding really allowed us to expand in the northern part of the county.
So is it all just one fund that is split in those three ways, or does each of those coalitions have their own funding?
Farron will be able to speak to this better and tell me if I'm wrong, but we've had prevention dollars that come through the state and federal government that come to us. And that's what we've been using for those other two coalitions in the past. Once the counties now got the money and chose to allow us to utilize these on prevention, we've been able to expand. Did I say anything wrong?
So they're all different.
They're a little bit different, but we try to just maximize them, and so,
By bringing them all together.
yeah.
Right. So,
We're all focused on the same thing, we just don't.
exactly.
Funded differently.
Was there-
Having the different cones is you can really look at the data and what are the needs in northern cache versus southern cache. And we think Cache County home, but really we're finding some differences in what the culture is, what the needs are, people are wanting to see and have in the community.
Another reason we do cone sites by the schools is the SHARPS data. If you're familiar with SHARPS data, it helps. It's every 2 years from 8th to 12th grade, we're able to collect data that tells us some of the things that are going on in the community, and we utilize that data so we can see that difference based off of where people are living in the community, what the needs are, and tailor the coalition work towards that. Did you have a question?
It was the same question as Nolan.
Okay. The only thing I'm here for is for a 2024 budget request. And Wes, tell me if I'm off on anything. In the past, we had asked for 85% of what the counties were receiving. That's what, and then we take that and we've been splitting it 70-30. This year, nothing was allocated out of the opioid funds to anything, correct? In the budget, or no?
I don't know that that's necessarily the case.
It wasn't allocated to the Bear River Health Department.
So there was some projections that we would get more opioid funds in '23 and then turn around and budget them in '24 to be distributed. And I think when we met earlier last week, I want to say with Dirk, we noticed that we didn't get as many payments in '23, but we've started to get much more significant payments in '24.
Yeah.
So,
But there needs to, I think you're gonna have a budget opener where this will be considered. So far, the health department has received $286,883.32. That needs to be put onto your budget because that has actually been given but was not reflected on the budget from what I understand. So there needs to be an amendment. We're not asking for any additional funds due to what Wes said, that this past year there'd been less. Next year we hope that we can ask for 85% of whatever comes in. Would like to just ask, once we know what the solid numbers are, is then ask for the 85% because we were going off of a projection. That projection was a little bit different. So we're okay waiting to see what actually comes in and then say, is this what we can have?
Can you tell us what the projection for 2024 was and where we're at as far as to the end of September? What are we looking at?
I would say this might be best answered. I've asked Alma specifically to come and do a presentation on this. And the reason I've done that is there are other costs that we could be reimbursed for the opioid, such as with the sheriff's office or the fire department. And so he does have a document that shows in 22 and 23 we received funds. 23 was initially projected that we would get much larger payments. Those didn't occur until 24. And so one of the items that I mentioned previously when we talked budget is that I would need to increase the budget amount for 25 based on the actual payments that had come in in 24. You know, it was significantly higher that we would be releasing those funds out potentially to Bear River Health. You know, some of that's going to be, again, up to you as you adopt your budget, how you want to use those funds. But I've asked Alma to specifically come and present on what those funds can be used for. And I also wanted you to come in and just present how you've been able to use those funds and what you've been able to accomplish. So.
So we've already received this amount. We just think that we're fine with this year. The question that and maybe we just need to have the conversation on an annual basis is how do we move forward? Are we committed to the conceptual plan? I personally, as the director of the health department, we've got to get further upstream. We have this opportunity. We haven't had this opportunity. If we fail in the next 18 years to get further upstream, shame on us. Because I don't think continuing to do what we're doing and just providing treatment to individuals who fall into addiction is the right thing. We've got to start trying to figure out how do we create a community that helps those leaving treatment and also keeps them from ever having to enter treatment in the first place. And happy to have those conversations about it is limited on what we can utilize the funds for. There is a scope that we can utilize it for. We tried to bring people together to have that conversation. That's how we came up with the conceptual plan. But that's kind of what we've been able to accomplish in a year. That's what we need. Well, you've already kind of given us the money. I just think it needs to be put on paper that says we've given the money this way. So one other question that I have for the council. I know we are the Bear River Health Department, but we are Cache County's health department. We are a department of the county set up in an interlocal agreement. And I think sometimes that creates a little bit of disconnection between the county and the department in the fact that all your other department heads come and present what they need for a budget and the understanding. In my past work, I've done that with counties. None of these counties have ever asked for that. I do think that there's value in that so that there's an understanding of what we're doing and why we're asking for what we're asking for and how we're working with the sheriff and other departments to fulfill the needs of the public. So sometimes if we don't understand what's going on, it's hard for us to collaborate as well and maximize the limited resources we have in our community. So
let's get you on a workshop ASAP if we can. Micah will get that put together and work with you and get you into one of the workshops.
Perfect. That'd be great. Thanks.
For 2025. Other questions from the council? You can get us out of the dark now.
Let me do mine.
Yeah.
All right, can I have Craig McAllister come up? Yes, please.
You know what, Craig? You're the boss.
Yeah.
This is a neat award for me, but it couldn't be done without a phenomenal office. And so these are wonderful, wonderful folks that take care of a lot of money, a lot of trust, a lot of responsibility. And we've done a lot of hard things and a lot of good things, and we'll continue to do those.
Well, it is an honor for me to be able to present this award from the Utah Association of Counties to Craig McAllister as the Outstanding County Treasurer of the Year for 2024. And Craig has been our county treasurer for 10 years, but I know you've been in that office longer than that. I'm not sure how much longer.
Not much, but 10 years, a little over 10.
Okay, Craig has the greatest work ethic. We are so grateful to have him in our county, and many times I know for a fact that you're the last person out of the building, and for an elected official, that's dedication that we really appreciate. And I would just like to say that Craig is a great leader in our county, but he's also a great leader in the state. And this is a well-deserved award to him from his peers in the other Utah counties. And so congratulations, Craig.
Thank you.
We're so proud of you.
Thank you very, very much. Got to get the picture.
Okay. All right.
But again, I have to say
yes, thank you.
didn't get a speech from him. What's the deal?
Huh?
We didn't get a speech from him.
Oh.
22,000 in delinquency today, we have 200 past due customers.
Not a speech.
That's amazing.
That's not a
Facts.
We keep working, we worked on online stuff, we're changing the header to include Spanish and all other languages we're working on today. We're working on the tax notice. We're deep in lots of things. We're 12 days away from when we have to turn all those things in. We still do not have proofs. We've got some issues there. So again, lots of work. We're working on the mortgages. There's about 18,000 mortgages that I'm working to verify. There's 6 that didn't tie out. They had the wrong parcel. We took care of Logan Cashers Credit Union today. What else have we done? Each day is deep and deep and deep, but it's a lot of stuff that has to happen. Thank you for your
Thank you.
trust.
Thank you so much, Craig.
Greg, thank you very much, and I think it says a lot to you when you recognize the team approach. And again, we thank you and your office and all you ladies there. Are really, it does mean a lot to the county, a lot. So we appreciate that very much. At this point, I'll take a motion on 7A to set that public hearing.
To set the public hearing for October 8th at 5:30 to discuss a permanent community impact fund CIB grant for a feasibility study for a new Cache County Senior Center.
Second?
Moved and seconded that we set that public hearing for October 8th, 2024 for the public hearing to discuss a permanent community impact fund CIB grant for the feasibility study of a new Cache County Senior Center. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you very much. How about B?
I'll make a motion to set the public hearing for October 8th, 2024 at 6 p.m. Resolution 2024-23, adopting the 2025 annual budget.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded that we set the public hearing for October 8th, 2024 at 6 p.m. Resolution 2024-23, adopting the 2025 annual budget. Is there any discussion on that?
Seems really early in the year. We got a lot of work to do on that still.
It's just a public hearing.
This is a public hearing.
It would be better if we had more to the budget for the public hearing, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I feel like it's still a work in progress.
We're not there yet.
Or not.
I'm not certain that you guys can make amendments to the tentative budget until hearings. I'm not certain about that.
So this is a hearing on the tentative budget that was given to us.
You have to hold a hearing, at least one hearing. Last year we held 2. We held one, in fact, last year was the meeting right after the council received the tentative budget. And then you guys scheduled another hearing, which wasn't necessary, but you guys did schedule another one, I think at the end of November.
So this here then would actually be very specific to the tentative budget.
It would be pertinent,
Okay.
only to the tentative budget.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. We'll now, let's go to the public hearing for Resolution 2024-19 of the opening of the 2024 budget. Okay. Hope you got notes on some of these. Let's go ahead, and if we can, let's have the public hearing first, and then we'll dig into it. Unless, Brittany, do you have some items you'd like to talk about first?
I was just going to point out the additions we made from the Appropriations Committee meeting, if that's all right.
Okay.
Okay. Let's see if I can do this. Sorry. Okay. So the first change we made is on budget amendment number 5. in the Appropriations Committee meeting last week. Sorry, I didn't realize it was on the TV.
Go ahead, I'll pull it up on
Okay. Is budget amendment number 5. A motion was made to request additional ARPA funding for the Mental Health Wellness Summit added to the Victim Advocates budget. So we added amendment number 5 to the budget amendment for $60,000. The next one is the Appropriations Committee meeting. There were some discrepancies with the salaries requested in budget amendment number 19.
Number was that again, sorry?
Number 5?
No, the,
Number 19?
number 19?
Number 19?
Okay.
Yes. So number 19 and number 20 are requests for new positions in the county. In the Appropriations Committee meeting, there were some discrepancies with the wages, so the wages have been updated in this amendment. I would like to note on amendment number 20, I sent the budget document to Micah requesting, so for the surveyor position, we got a wage range from HR, or Office of Personnel Management, and Loriana and I had made an executive decision to request like the middle range of that range, and then after I had sent the budget document to Micah, the department head requested to request the higher of the range, and so the difference would be instead of $12,100 in the municipal services budget, it would be $12,900, and then another $12,900 in the general fund because it's split 50-50, and then benefits would go from $6,200 to $6,400 if you would approve the higher wage range there.
Brittany, I have a question.
Yes.
In the appropriations meeting, it was at 15,000 from engineering, 15,000 from development service, municipal services.
Yes.
So, and now in the thing in the part that we got in our packet, it says 12,100. You're saying 12,900.
Yes.
So I'm confused, and it's not more, but it's less.
So 12,100, it was the mid-range because we got a salary range. So we just took the average of that salary for the budget amendment. And then after I had submitted the budget document to Micah, the department head requested to go on the higher end. So if you guys would like to approve the higher end of that wage range, it would go up to 12,900. And the reason it is less is because that wage range, I think we kind of rounded up a little bit too high, and then I think we had an error in our calculation for the Appropriations Committee meeting because it was much too high. And then the final change is number 24. This was requested to be added in the Appropriations Committee meeting where the building inspection would like to move funding from their capital budget to their non-capitalized equipment to purchase some iPads for their building inspectors. So I was just going to review those changes from the Appropriations Committee meeting, unless you had any other questions you would like me to answer at this time.
Any amount changes then on number 24 than what we have, or?
Nope, it just was, number 24 was not presented to the Appropriations Committee, and so this is new.
Added in. It was presented by Stephen, he talked about it, but it wasn't on our original
Yes, but it wasn't in the document we presented.
So just so you know, the range in which we were provided for the position was between 90,176 to 102,800 for annualized salary. And so Brittany had went in and they had picked right in the middle, basically. And and just having discussions with her, again, we probably won't even expend that much based on when are we going to be able to hire the individual. Number one. Number two, we want to assume in budgeting potentially the worst case scenario, of an additional $800 per fund. It's not significant, but she did her best effort in estimating the amount, and we do have an email just documenting that 102,800 was the high range.
So with the 12, changing it to 12,900, what does the yearly salary come out as?
It would be the 102,800.
Plus benefits?
Plus
Right.
benefits, yes.
Other questions? Anything else? Okay, then let's go ahead and we will open up the public hearing for this budget, the 2024 budget opening. Is there anyone here that would like to speak to it? For or against, out loud, quietly?
Move to close the public hearing.
Second.
Second, move and second that we close the public hearing. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thank you. It passes unanimous. What questions would you, as the council, have?
Do we discuss that now or later in the agenda?
I have a question that Wes, I don't know if you remember me asking you, and I apologize, I did not follow up. If you could tell us, break out from this budget opening, what's the final line that affects the general fund? Like some of these are in and out and just moving.
So you're looking,
accounts, but-
you're looking for the updated use of surplus and where adding these positions would put us?
Well, not just the positions, just this budget opening. If you went through and took out everything that affects the general fund, what would that total be? That's what I was looking for,
Okay.
so.
I don't have that currently. You did ask me.
And I
What
didn't
amount is
follow-
it?
I didn't follow through, so I apologize.
Why don't I follow up with an email?
Hey, we can talk about it later,
Yeah, okay.
like Catherine's.
On item 9.
Yeah, that'll be
Okay.
fine. Okay, well then we'll go ahead at this point and go to 7D, which is ordinance 2024-17, the honey rezone. Stephen? I want to turn on a few more lights back there. Actually, it's the far right
It's the
one.
far right one that,
Far right. That's, they take that one down. No, far, the other right. You're right. Yeah, great, keep going.
all the way, the other way.
Far right.
Turn that one down
There you go. That's the only one.
and turn all the rest of them
That's
off.
it, though? That's it? Oh, because it just has a big impact on that screen right there, so.
Ready for the
Bryson,
number.
you're fine. You're
Thank you,
fine.
Bryson.
What are you talking about?
Just don't be far left.
Mike is pulling up the map so we can show you where this is at. So just in the search, it's 16.
Just right here.
Yep, right there. 016. 0014. Okay, perfect. So this is 16.67 acres. That's located at the south end of the county. This is actually just north of our southern boundary, adjacent to the Powder Mountain property. This property is currently zoned as Resort Recreation, RR, and the request is to rezone it to FR40. Me and the applicant have met several times over the last few months to talk about this property. The reason why this request has been made is under the RR zone, there are a lot of restrictions and criteria you have to meet before you can develop on a piece of property, including a seasonal cabin or anything. One of the biggest restrictions is it requires a minimum of 2,000 acres, which this clearly is not. And so after some discussion and consideration, the applicant has made this request. However, maybe even before I go too far into it, we met just prior to the meeting, and the applicant has indicated that he would like to make a request to the council regarding the application and its status. And so I can go more into the property, but I think his request may change what the council wants to do tonight, so.
Okay, we'll hear in a second. Let's go ahead and we'll open up the public hearing for ordinance 2024-17, the honey rezone. Anyone that would like to speak to that, come up here, please state your name.
Hi, I'm George Honey, the property owner.
Okay, and state your name up there at the microphone,
Yeah,
and,
I'm George Honey, property owner of parcel 16-016-0014. Yeah, at this time, I want to withdraw my application.
okay, so no change of rezone or anything?
Okay, let's keep it at this current zone.
RR.
Yeah, I'd like to pursue other options through other means to develop and keep it in that zone.
Okay.
For now, I've heard that the zoning was originally devised or written as a whole for all the property owners. And at some point, properties were sold off or what have you, which has made it very difficult for individual owners to do much with their property as far as development. So I'd like to stay, withdraw, but just make a comment
Through a
that
different avenue.
maybe in the future,
Okay.
it could be revised or looked at to help owners with what they want to do, development, and maybe help with tax base, what have you, to help the county and property owners. So I'd just like to stay in the zone for now.
Okay, well, that's on record. Thank you very much. At this point, I guess we could, I'll entertain a motion then to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Or unless we need to go any further, which Jairus, it's been withdrawn by the owners, so moving second that we close the public hearing. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you very much, sir.
Thanks.
Good luck. At this point, let's go down to, where we'll talk about 9A, 9B, then will be stricken.
Do you want to go to 9C first? Or?
We could to save some, well, do we have everybody here that's going to be able to speak on that? Is Casey coming? No? Okay. Let's go with 9A. Let's get this one, let's work with this one here. Opening of the 2024 budget, Resolution 2024-19. Brittany, you've given all the information that you want to give to us, so now we'll open up for questions from the council to each other and to you.
It's not gonna work, okay. Okay, thank you.
I wanted to ask about something. I think it's just a clarification, but on number, oh gosh, I've got the old one. It's old number 13. Let me get back to the new one. The $32,000 to the fire district for the, or the $30,000 for the feasibility study. I believe that, if I remember correctly, that's in their 2025 budget, but they want to get it started right now, and so it'll be then taken off the 2025 budget, or it won't be doubled.
Correct.
Yes. So I just wanted to make sure the council
Yeah,
understood.
it looked like it would be.
The intent is to get it started sooner.
Yeah. So we need to make an adjustment on the 2025 budget if we approve this.
Other questions? I've got a question on number 2. Let's see. I believe because this was less, was it? That was the networking site?
Yes, so what happened?
Does that money then goes back into where?
Back to the ARPA fund revenue line.
And so now we've got to encumber that, or get that thing, basically have a place for it by the end of the year too then.
Well, so Alma's been tracking it on a separate spreadsheet, so it was just wrong in Cassell.
Yeah.
So it wouldn't be adding any funds to the funds that
Okay,
need to
that's
be
what I
spent.
was worried about. All of a sudden we had a short, they didn't use as much. It goes back to there and now we have a,
No, we just accidentally included it in the PO carryover and in the ARPA projects, and so it was just incorrect in Cassell.
okay.
Okay.
I did have a question on number 6.
I did too.
from full-time employees to seasonal employees.
Yes, so
Do you want me to talk?
Yes, I would.
Okay, want to go up there or here?
You're fine there.
So we had a position that was vacated and it was never refilled. And then I needed more seasonal help for the election this year. So I was just asking to transfer that funding to seasonal. And then come 2025, I'll be cutting that position from the budget.
But there was already money already budgeted for that seasonal help.
There was for budget for that seasonal help, but what was budgeted for that seasonal help was maxed out for the primary election. And then by having this funds, I can hire more people for seasonal election help for the general.
So you won't be filling or asking for that full-time position then?
No, so that'll be cut from the budget come 2025.
Okay, that was a question I had there. Let's see. This is a question for the fire on the ARPA money that was used for the ambulance. It was switched over, that $250,000, then you want to use that to purchase a new truck, right?
Correct.
Do we need, was that need for that truck there, or is it just because we use that other money?
The needs there,
Are we getting behind, I guess is what I'm saying?
we're about 2 to 3 years behind right now.
Okay,
If we buy it with this money this year, it'll cost us about $470,000. And we can buy it now on a demo unit. If we wait until next year, it's about $542,000, and it'll be out 3 to 4 years.
I was just worried if we were getting behind, you know, because we have kind of pushed things a little bit and how far behind we'd be getting.
We're 3
So,
years behind right now.
okay, thank you. Oh, and number 13, we will be reimbursed for those dollars,
yes.
but when will that happen?
It usually takes a few months.
Okay,
Usually it comes before year end.
Yeah,
and so then that'll whitewash this one basically, right?
it should.
Okay.
Mr. Chair?
Yeah, please.
I had a question. In our appropriations meeting, we had asked, I think, for a little more clarification on the actual costs from JUB, or who we were contracting with for surveying work and maybe, and Matt wasn't there, and we were like, we had some questions for Matt, remember, I think, if you all remember, Sandy, if you
Yeah.
remember this, we're like, Matt's not here, we had a few questions for Matt, we're like, yeah, we'll chalk that one up for when we see Matt. And Matt's here, so we could put Matt in the hot seat if we really want to. But yeah, that was one of those, we wanted to just see, because as it's been told to us as a council, hiring this surveyor would be, you know, we would not see an additional cost into our budget because these are costs that we're using for contract work already, and that we actually would have a lot more of our needs. And this is going to be split between your department and Stevens, so between the two of you, we just wanted to see if you guys had some more, not evidence, but if you could show us that a little bit better.
There will not be a savings to the county. So that's first and foremost. This will be an expense. If we are able to cut some of the contracted surveying, that's a minor portion of what this person will be doing. It will still require some contracted survey work. What we're trying to do is make sure we have someone in here that's keeping us in compliance with the state code and doing those things, being a resource for the county, so.
It's a need that we're filling.
It's a need, yes. It's not a savings. It will be an expense to the county.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Yep.
I also remember in that meeting, there was a question about the percentage, 50% of municipal services and 50% in general, or in the general fund. Micah, did you look into that, or is that, like, we talked about it, but there was some question about whether, because when we moved some of the engineering into the general fund.
That was my question.
Oh.
Currently, the engineering budget is split 50-50 out of municipal services and general fund. I think there's a proposal on the table that I've seen lately that would change that 25-75%, but that's why you're seeing 25 or 50-50 currently. That's how the engineering budget is split.
Which one's 25?
So the intent is next year with the 25 budget, that we would, where we've moved a lot of those costs and revenues over the general fund, the municipal service fund is doing okay. And in talking with Matt briefly, I said, do you think you could justify a 75-25 split based on where you're providing those services?
With 75 coming out.
And that's, the intent is for 25's budget. So not 24's, nothing to do with the amendment.
But so 75% is coming out of municipal services?
75%.
Out of municipal
Out of
services.
municipal services, okay. Thank you. Thanks, Matt.
And whose recommendation was that, Wes? Is that just because of how they function, or was there an actual request from a department head? How did that get?
So in my mind, that came from me.
Okay.
My thought process on that was that a lot of their services are going to be tied to growth. And where we have, building inspections that occur through that fund, development, I said, you're really probably spending more of your time than you realize in that, for those types of services within the county. And so, again, my idea was I would rather use those funds if we can justify the percentage. And then as far as the couple items from Appropriations Committee, I have to apologize. I've been gone for 3 days this last week, and so I did not connect with my staff on those. So that's my failure.
That's okay. Thank you.
I have a question on that contracted deputy county surveyor. Do we have a contract that's, how long is that contract for? Does it go to the end of the year, or when does it end?
Barbara, I don't remember the exact date of when that contract was signed.
Okay.
But it's just kind of been continued year to year unless one party cancels it. So continue on.
So right now, it's till the end of the year as far as you know, or?
Unless we canceled it or they canceled it, would continue. It's probably time to relook at that and renew that contract. But when that contract was signed back like 2013, 2015, it was just a rolling contract and it would need to be canceled by each party. So if the county decided that they didn't want to use the contracted surveyor that was deputized, we could. And if they didn't really like working for the county anymore, either party could cancel that contract. But they do update their fees on a yearly basis. So we have two contracts, one with JUB and one with Foresight.
So I'm sorry, go ahead.
JUB is contracted to do most of our plat reviews. So most of the fees that we pay JUB are pass-through fees. So if someone reviews a plat, they pay us for that review, we pass that money through to JUB. So those would be handled, the majority of the work of the surveyor would be handled in-house, so those fees would stay at the county. But it's still not gonna offset. They're probably on the, I know you guys asked for numbers, those are probably on the average of maybe $30,000 to $40,000 a year at max. That's the pass-through costs. Some years it's as low as 25. So.
What about the contract with Foresight? What is it like?
The main contract with Foresight is for section corners. That one would be very difficult for this position to come in. It might take years for him to get a staff, survey equipment, and all those things. But he could oversee the direction of those survey monuments and help plan out, answer questions anytime there's conflicts in the county. So it's a much needed position, but again, right now we're doing the bare minimum with budget and what we have. If we had someone internally, they could do a lot more to help other departments, help the recorder, help answer questions, review entity plats, the annexations, and those types of things. So
you're saying at first, if we hire somebody and create this position, that we're still going to be paying Foresight Engineering?
That is correct.
Throughout the year?
That is correct.
Okay.
be outside of their scope of work.
Yeah, most of it would be. What we don't get is if we brought either one of those surveyors in and used them as a resource like we need them, those costs would be triple or double. So right now, we're just not paying that money. We're not bringing the engineering to staff meetings. We're not having him, come to these meetings to give updates on. So a lot of that, the UAC meetings, those types of things, those are expensive. And so based on our budget and the available funds in the engineering department and development services, we just kind of make sure that we're covering our basis, but an internal person would be able to help, lots more ways that we're not doing. They would also take burden off other department people, the GIS, myself, my engineering staff, that would free their time up, and we'd also see savings in the county. But initially, it's going to be a cost, so.
I'll just echo what he said. I liaison with Tennille's office, and she said that she could use that expertise a lot. She said there's a lot of times where she could really lean on.
Yeah, and as we grow, that need becomes more evident, right? The property issues become, everything triples and doubles, right? As the county grows, that's where the county surveyor becomes more important, where the section corners are, where property disputes may be, and having a resource for the public. Right now, if you want to go talk to a surveyor, he's going to want money. So being able to give some advice to the citizens as well as a resource would also be a valuable thing for the county.
Okay, I have a question, and you say these amounts are requested for October to December. So if you were to post the position, do you really think you would have it filled by October? And if so, do you have somebody in mind that already to take that position?
We do not have anyone in mind, and that's probably highly unlikely that we would find the right candidate before October.
Can I ask a question about the one before that too, Matt, as long as you're here? Because we're just so sensitive to hiring new people with our budget, the way that it is. And the full-time position for the equipment operator that you've got, do you want to talk about that and the need for that?
Jeremy's here too if we need him to talk, if I don't do a good enough job explaining it. But we do need another resource for the department, the road division, as we have aging employees that are, towards the end. It's nice to bring someone in and get them trained. A lot of our knowledge is passed down, a lot of the knowledge of the roads, previous projects, just being able to operate equipment, knowing where things are. So this would be, our intent is to bring in someone at a very young age that doesn't have all that experience, and be able to train them, provide them with skills, and be able to help some of our older people as they're taking their vacations and different things to fill in. Right now, when they take vacations or they have sick days, their equipment just sits. So this would allow some of the mid people to go up and learn how to run equipment, and it would allow us to train some of that new workforce. So,
in our appropriations meeting, they said one of the challenges is some of them have a lot of tenure with the county. The aging employees have a lot of tenure, so they have a lot of vacation accrued.
They do, which is not a bad thing, right? That's what we're all hoping to get.
They've earned it.
The problem is that when they do take that, it puts a shortage in our staff, so.
So it's helping out with that as well.
Wasn't we were talking appropriations of also another person in the roads, like a foreman or something like that? Or was there talk that way?
There is a position that's currently not filled as the foreman position. If you remember, it's probably been about a little over a year now where Joel Merritt retired. Right. And Jeremy was able to fill his position as the superintendent. Currently, we have not backfilled Jeremy's position as we try to sort out what the need is, right? We want to make sure we bring someone in that can add value to our department and add resources and knowledge where we need it. So as Jeremy's been able to get in there for a while, I think we kind of know what we need, and so we've been trying to hold that position so that if we did find the right person and the right candidate with the right skills, that we were able to bring that person on. So
we don't have enough money to fulfill what Jeremy did before doing, huh?
we don't have enough money now to really fulfill what he's doing either. So.
We appreciate you too. So.
Yeah. So is there a way to use the budgeted amount for this year for that unfilled?
There would be,
Just to save a little money till, I know it would be in the 2025 budget for the new position. Could we,
it's very hard to come in and get new positions, right?
Yeah.
Rightfully so. So we've tried to hold on to that position, just so that when the right person came along, we didn't have to wait 3 months for a budget opening. We could, put that out, see how we did. So we would still know, what we'd like the council to know is that there's still a need for that manager position at that level. But if it's unfunded, great. If you take it away, we understand. But just so you guys know that that there's a need there. We just need to make sure we find that right person with the right skills. And so instead of just hiring someone, we've been very, cautious about making sure that we look within, make sure we're giving people opportunities and training and just making sure we're making the right decision. We know that's a valuable position in our department, so. But it is a need, so if it is taken away in with this budget amendment or future budget amendments, we will be coming back. And it's a longer process at that point, so.
thank you, Matt.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Matt.
Other questions?
I was just looking for clarity on item 22.
Me too.
Rather than try to explain, maybe if Wes could explain just how all of that is coming together. See if I still have the question.
So the idea here is currently we have Waste Management that we have do our garbage services, and we're not necessarily capturing any kind of cost for different staff throughout the county and saying, they're specific to garbage or part of their time is devoted to that. I just want to quantify the costs associated with that so that I make sure when we start to look at the revenue that we're collecting, that we're matching there. Right now, it's kind of an in and out, and those costs are being absorbed by other, by finance department. We're not really trying to capture the revenue to pay for garbage specifically. Does that make sense?
So for us to do the collection services, that is not
So right now, we have
part
to.
of the entire bill that someone gets?
So what it really is related to is customer service, communication with the customers. Waste Management they don't deal with that aspect. And so, I have staff that, Andrea specifically is mailing out all those bills. She's addressing those bills. We've got, the treasurer that's taking care of payments. So really the thought behind this is I just want to start to quantify what those costs are so that we're just looking at them. We notice what they are. They're going to come from other departments. Right now they're sitting in finance and the treasury, and we're still budgeted for them there. But I just wanted to, with this next year's budget, start to recognize that there are costs associated with garbage that aren't necessarily on Waste Management's bill.
You're kind of estimating there's about $18,000 of costs.
Yeah.
To do all that.
For 3 months, yeah.
I know, but now, okay, then I guess that's what my question is if if that's all new cost, that should be part of the collection system. Why isn't that absorbed in that?
So partly with Waste Management's contract, there are specific things that they don't do. And so that's fallen on finance and treasury to address those needs.
And they can't be added to that bill then?
Well,
think it was.
we can charge an administrative fee.
That's what it should be.
Yes.
Mr. Zook, you were on that waste consortium with us. We did talk about that there would be a fee that's in that would come to the county because each community that's in the waste consortium was going to collect from their community, then they pass that into the county. And so there should be something in that building that we talked about. Is that correct?
And there was previously, even before we made the switch. And that's a common thing to have cities, all the cities, I'm sure, are doing the same thing.
Right, but we had talked about that this would be, and that's why we raised it some.
Well, if
So my understanding, sorry, Nolan. Go ahead.
we're bearing the cost,
Well,
those fees they're collecting should be paid to
Yeah,
the county.
that should be.
So my understanding is that the cities within that consortium are paying, they're dealing with their own burden themselves. So if they have customers that call in and have an issue, they're not calling Waste Management, they're calling the city, Amalga, whatever, and saying, hey, I've got this issue.
So is it only the unincorporated customers then that,
That we're collecting a fee on, correct?
from?
Yes,
But
and so.
not every community has a staff that's there answering those questions.
Yeah.
That's what we talked about as well.
And so, but my idea is, let's quantify what the costs are so that I can pass them on in a fee, administrative fee. So that's what I'm trying to accomplish by this amendment.
So, yeah, this amendment breaks it down so you'll be able to quantify which departments are encumbered or burdened with
Yeah.
activities related to waste management.
I'm thinking we need to get to the bottom of that and then basically start fresh in 2025.
Okay.
I hate to, we can get it all created as such to be in the 2025 budget rather than midstream.
And that's okay. I'd be okay with that.
That's why I would.
As long as we
I
understand.
would say that we X this one.
Ahead of that, right?
Yeah, let's get to the details, what it does cost, so we are, you know, so whatever revenue, we can send that bill or put in the bill, administrative fee, whatever it costs to collect in the unincorporated, then we need to, you know, we need to make sure that it pays that.
Yes.
Yeah, the customer.
And that's 100% what I'm trying to accomplish with this. And I don't know that I've quantified all the costs. I only have an understanding that it's impacting the two departments at this point. Because my understanding is we're only providing customer service and receipt of payment. So, but it's my first attempt at trying to recognize that specifically garbage, there's costs outside of what the contract is.
So,
Thank you.
I would say this is my viewpoint is to remove this from this budget opening, get the clarity, get it all put in and set and solid for the 2025.
I would agree with that.
Yeah, thanks, Wes. That's a good idea.
That's okay, we can do that as part of the. Okay, any others?
For me.
2023 was quite a little, you know, the back and forth, the money's going here, then back here, it jumped into like 2 or 3 of the accounts to get that thing finalized, the $75,000, the zoning administration. You know, that's to trails and back, I mean, good crud, that's a,
Yes, so
I looked at
in,
that as a shell game, like, okay, where's the money under this time, you know?
so in June, we accidentally put it into the trails budget. And then Stephen followed up with me and we realized that it was put in trails and it should have been in zoning.
Nothing was spent out of it?
No.
Okay. Okay. And then 26, is that the Visitors Bureau is just asking for an additional $55,000?
Yes. Just out of her fund balance, she's spending it faster than she anticipated, and she's got the fund balance for it, and so she's just requesting to be able to use
Has the
it.
fund balance for it in her account?
Yes.
Okay, that's what I want to make sure. Okay, other questions? That's the ones that I had on all of them that I was looking at, except for, I'm still not comfortable at all on number 20, on the surveyor position. I would rather that we talk about that for the 2025 budget. I just don't, you know, I see the need, but I'm just very, very hesitant right now as to how that will all come about and what will be done and who will be hired and everything in that thing. I'm just worried about that whole process, and so I would rather just strike that one out of the intermediate budget, the inflow budget of September, and let's just talk about it in the 2025 budget, but.
So currently, I've given you a manpower request for 25 for positions that aren't included in the budget. The surveyor, it's not included either, so I would have to add that to the list. Just so you're aware, it's not in 24 or 25 yet.
It wasn't in the total you gave us.
It wasn't in the
one.
request yet.
And Jairus, I have a question for you. From my understanding on the request, I'm sorry, can I borrow this? The attorney, there was 2 requests for the attorney department, but if I'm understanding correctly, that wasn't requested, is that correct?
I honestly have not been brought up to date on those requests, so I would not be able to answer intelligently.
That's for the 2025, isn't it?
Yeah, that's for the 2025, but, yeah.
Yeah, so I apologize, I haven't, Taylor hasn't updated me on that, so I wouldn't be able to answer on that. I can check with him though. and see.
Okay, thank you.
Wes, I do have one more question on 21.
Posted to hire
Is
one
this,
of them right now.
when is this the last year, when is the last year of that promise to the ice arena?
My understanding is that's this 20.
It was like March or April of 2025 is when it ends.
Okay, I hope.
So,
I hope that's the end.
unless they approach you and you guys
They
decide
can
to
approach
renew
us, but
that.
it's stopping. For me, I'm done.
So the last payment, I can't remember if it's March or April, but it's March of April or of next year. I think it's
Okay,
March, because I think it's just the first quarter.
thank you on that. That was 21.
Okay, I guess we should go through these one at a time.
Okay, any,
So did you have questions specific to the attorney?
that's for the 2025.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll be talking about that one.
Okay.
When we have the
But-
2025 budget up, don't we?
And this is just a current job posting.
Right, but
Okay.
that'd be a replacement.
All right. Okay. No.
So, Mr. Chair, are you looking for just you said you've got a lot you need to digest still. Are you looking just to not approve this for final approval tonight?
I'm confused.
It is at the privy of it's at the, whatever you guys would like to do, if you'd like to pass that, if you'd like more time, whatever you need to do. But I know if you include number 20, I will vote against it. I know that, so. I just don't think, I think things are lining up for us to be in a bad position at that, so.
Well, this is the initial proposal, so we can, in 2 weeks, we can pass it. I don't know if, like, we definitely want to take out 22, the garbage collection, so that Wes can get that ready for the 2025 budget. Can I make that amendment now, or should I wait until we
No,
consider the whole thing?
No, you can bring that up right now.
Okay, then I would make that amendment that we remove opening number 22 to be saved later for the 2025 budget.
Strike it from this.
To strike it from this budget.
Is there a second? Moved and seconded that we strike number 2022. It'll be addressed, I guess, later in 2025 budget, if possibly. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
You want to
Okay.
make the same motion concerning number 20.
Second?
It's moved and seconded that we strike out number 20. Is there any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone nay? Motion passes.
So we can look at that for the 2025 budget as well.
As well.
Okay.
Okay.
Everything else looked.
I did have one question on why rounding. Explain the
I
rounding.
wanted to know that.
Yeah.
too.
That adds up to, $6,900, but why rounding?
The last 26 pages?
All of them,
Yeah.
like four and a half pages of it.
Starting with 29.
I just,
I didn't understand that either.
So in the budget, Cameron had historically rounded up to the nearest $100. This year, we hadn't rounded up because we've been short-staffed, and so we've just been requesting the exact dollar amounts that departments have requested. So this amendment is just rounding out all of those budget amounts so that they're nice
Is
round
there a need?
numbers. I'm sorry?
Is there a need to round it?
No.
I didn't, I
Just
wouldn't
makes
think.
it easier when you're balancing.
Dollar's a dollar.
I don't think it's either here nor there. It's fine if.
So if it was all rounded up and then it doesn't get used, what happens to all of that?
Yeah, so the budget, if it doesn't get used, it's closed to surplus. And so, it's just close to your fund balance at the end of the year.
That's 45, wasn't it? We had a special meeting.
Seems like why bother?
Yeah, it's kind of one of those, but to me, it's one of those things, kind of like, why bother with it, you know?
We have made an effort to try to limit a lot of the, again, interdepartmental transfers as much as possible to streamline the amendment document as much as possible. I typically will round to the 500 instead of $100. It's almost personal preference.
Is there a cost savings to your department by doing that?
I think it's easier to do.
Easier, but is there a cost?
It's easier to add them up.
It's like, it's just easier for finance to balance.
Yeah, if it's easier to balance and do those things, I don't care that you do that. So anything that's rounded up and then not used is just closed back into the general fund. It's not used for something else. It's not transferable.
Is it-
Whichever fund it applies.
And
Yeah.
that is for the entire fund, not for each transaction or a group of transactions, is it? For example, that would be for, as we look at that, it says right here, fairground outdoor arena. We rounded it, you round that one, actually -50, that wasn't a good example. Each one of those, basically, you just rounded each one of those, not a collective or a whole bunch of them for a department together, right?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, it's each line item in their budget.
It's probably neither here nor there, but we've never seen that.
Yeah.
So,
I think Cameron probably did it. We didn't.
Yeah, I was like, I think it's because we normally round it up for every budget amendment, but this year we hadn't updated, we hadn't rounded every single budget amendment.
is it effort to round it up if it didn't have to? or
It doesn't
you're
have to
fine?
be. It doesn't have to
Hey,
be.
you're like the ultimate mathematician. You probably don't need to round it.
It just makes it easier when we're balancing because it's a nice round number, but we don't have to do it if you guys don't want to.
Well, I think we probably err on your
Yeah.
judgment
You
more
guys
than
can do it the way that's
ours
easiest for
for
you.
$100, so,
Yeah,
okay.
that's how I feel.
Okay,
Okay.
good education. Well, did you want to deal with that now, or do you want to wait for another week or till the next time? It's up to you.
I'd make a motion, we adopt the proposed budget opening amendments.
As amended.
Suspend the rules and adopt them as amended.
As amended?
Resolution 2024.
Okay. Make a motion that we suspend the rules and adopt resolution 2024-19 as amended.
I would second that.
It's been moved and seconded that we suspend the rules and pass resolution 2024-19 of the opening of the 2024 budget. Is there any discussion?
I do have one more question. I thought that what was presented to us, number 5, on the, Sandy, do you have the original one? Is
Yeah.
that from the appropriations committee?
Uh-huh.
Is that 60,000 or is that 45?
Which,
It's the
Mental health,
mental
community
health.
counseling.
it was
Wellness.
60,000.
Motion
Okay.
was 60,000.
Motion was 60.
Yeah.
I thought when we met with her, it was 45.
I thought we-
45 came in my mind for some reason.
I thought we,
It was actually 48 was the bare minimum.
Bare minimum.
They need to operate the summit.
Okay.
we made a motion in appropriations to include 60,000 in this budget opening, but if you guys want to amend that,
And do we have to, maybe by motion, let's see, number 5, does it say on yours that it now is ARPA?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Make sure
Yeah.
then we're approving the right thing, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
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 Good question, I mean, that's what,
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
You can change it if you'd like, though. You can cut it back or
When is
save
that?
10,000,
When
whatever.
is that?
But it is ARPA money,
October?
but it is ARPA money too,
Yes.
Yeah. That's kind of
which,
close to pull that out from them right now. So, thank you for Sandy for looking at that.
so it's been moved and seconded. Any more discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? I will vote in favor with those two changes. Thank you. Thank you very much. Now let's have a,
Thank you, council.
thank you.
Wes.
Appreciate all you do, serious.
You guys are awesome.
Resolution 2024-22. This is the seasonal access restrictions for the county roads. I was hoping Casey would be here and I'd play a video, but I won't.
show that up on the screen. That's all I'm asking for.
So you don't need this.
No. Thought if you're able to show that. I've been here 3 years in a row for this, so I'm trying to mix it up so that I don't repeat the same presentation 3 years in a row. But I wanted to just read this section out of Chapter 12 of the code that says, "The county council shall have the authority to place ongoing seasonal restrictions on roadways based on the inability to provide snow removal, potential damage to roadways during certain periods of the year, or other safety or access concerns." So this resolution is with the judgment of working with different organizations, working with the road division. These are the roads that we feel like are very difficult to provide snow removal services on, that also protect our roads from costly repairs and also keep some of the citizens safe. So this year, we have 18 road closures that we're proposing, and that would be 7 new ones from last year. So in order to not just read these off, I thought it would be nice to have a map on the board so that if people are in the audience or they're watching from home, that they may be able to see this map. This map is also published online, and I didn't feel like we needed to read them all. I thought I would answer questions and maybe just point out some of the newer ones. The other ones have been on there for quite a few years, so.
Yeah, could you point out the new ones? Is there any changes in the dates of closure or opening for roads that we already have done in the past?
There is a few closures, changes to dates. If any of those, a couple of them got longer. So there's been one on the west side of the valley towards Mendon, and we added a couple of closures over there, one of those being Deep Canyon. And so to try to keep everything very similar to the same dates, we did pull back the date for 3 Mile a little bit to December, or to November, and then that would match up with Deep Canyon and the other roads in that area. So we've tried to match areas, if you're closing one road in an area, it doesn't make sense not to close the other one. The snow is gonna melt the same time. So in order for consistency, we did change a few dates, but the ones that we added this year would be Long Divide Road. There's no turnaround on Long Divide Road, and if any of you guys have been on Long Divide, this is the road that goes basically from Newton over into Box Elder. On our side, it's paved, very nice road. On Box Elder's side, it's still gravel, very hard for them to maintain. So a lot of times, on our side, you're able to get there, and once you hit the Box Elder side, now you're stuck.
Yeah.
We have issues, and so in conjunction with them, we feel like that's a good closure. That would kind of match the Short Divide closure, so the Long Divide and Short Divide would be getting closed at about roughly the same time.
So does their ordinances over there, they do the same thing.
Yes, all these.
The resolution, they've done the same thing.
Mostly Jeremy, so I won't take credit for it, but he's coordinated the closure locations and the dates with people on both sides, and all of them are very favorable. So where we're closing.
Randolph, or, Rich County, everything's all worked together.
Rich County's.
That's good.
Weber County, they're all very supportive because they have the same issues we do. And if we're not on board, then they can't really close theirs. So we've received overwhelming support from all of the different counties where we close roads that go both ways. Millville Canyon is a new one that's being added this year. Ant Flat is a new one. Lake Town Road is a new one. Mineral Point is a new one, so.
We didn't used to close those.
Ant Flat and Lake Town Road had a closure put on it in 1996 by the council, and then it just kind of evaporated somehow.
Bill, they kind of created natural barrier, didn't they, on those two roads? Didn't they kind of do the push-up of snow type stuff and just said that's kind of our natural closure?
So I think, yeah, until that melts, so that's been one issue, is that sometimes when you don't have the snowfall that you would normally have, or you have early springs, that those berms that you would create to push the snow go away, and so they're not very effective. This resolution that we're doing also supersedes any of the past ones, and so maybe by default, a few years ago when we passed one of these, it superseded those 1996 ones as well. So this is in an effort to just keep all the closures in one place, not have them scattered around.
Matt, can you talk about the Mineral Point Road? Why
Sure.
does it not open until August 10th?
The Mineral Point Road is a good one, and part of this is due to the high activity up there. Part of this was done as a group. I know that Casey supports this. We have some representatives that represent the WMA here as well. If you've ever been up there, those roads get muddy, they get slick, and there's a lot of use on them. If you take a map of the county and you draw a map of where you have public access, there is almost zero public access at that end of the valley. There's no Forest Service along Ant Flat. This is the only public place. So I was up there this weekend, and that place is getting overrun with traffic and four-wheelers and people hunting and people just out. This is also high up in the elevation, so the snow doesn't melt as quick as it would in other places. And so I support this closure. One, if we don't, you're going to see it overrun, and that public area will get done. It also provides some habitat protection during the time of year when you're going to have the deer and the elk that need a place to go that's not quite their summer grounds, not quite their winter grounds, but this will provide, with that WMA will also provide habitat for those animals at a critical point in time as well. So.
What about the LDS Church camp that's up there? Will that close off the
So
access there?
that's actually a different closure. It's called East Canyon in La Plata. So the Mineral Point proposed closure is on Ant Flat and at the edge of the WMA on the east side. So La Plata and the other one are on a separate closure and a different date.
The access to that, they can still access it over on Porcupine.
Yeah, so the church would still have access to all of their property, but if they went up to Mineral Point Road and tried to enter the WMA, it would be closed on the dates as proposed.
Sandy, I talked with Casey yesterday. The August 10th closure, and those of us who are on the road committee, we had a presentation on this. This is a closure to motorized vehicles. Prior to August 10th, bicycles, foot traffic, and horses, is that correct, can still access that. So public will still have it, it's just the motorized on the August 10th.
Nolan, I would probably reiterate that for all of these. We're not closing these to hiking, biking, snowmobiles. This is just, four-wheelers, side-by-sides, Jeeps, trucks, those types of things. This closure doesn't affect any of the winter routes. It doesn't affect any hiking, biking, Deep Canyon, right? If you want to go up Deep Canyon, most of our closures provide some kind of a way for a man door or something that people can access it on foot but just trying to keep those trucks out for, teenage kids and those types of people that want to go up and see how far they can go up the mountain, how much they can spin mud, and also for safety. If the sheriff was here, I thought I seen him, with search and rescue, he's going up there to rescue people off these roads all the time during the middle of the winter as well, so. Is that?
The only question I had is you say it's used quite heavily, and I think so we're cutting off that use for a lot of people.
It is. I think my personal opinion, just after seeing it, is that if we open that any longer, you're going to see that that's going to degrade and cost a lot of money for both the state and the county to try to keep those roads up to where you can access them.
The main purpose of the closure of the Mineral Point is for the WMA, right?
The wildlife management.
It's the wildlife.
Okay.
Yeah,
that's not, it isn't really the abuse of that trail. It is for the wildlife, right?
I would say that the wildlife is probably one of the higher priorities on that, but but there is a lot of traffic there too.
This isn't gonna start a snowball effect. They start doing they want a lot of other road closures times and that earlier in other areas. We're gonna start seeing a lot of that.
I don't suspect so.
I hope not. So, I don't wanna lose access to the public on a lot of these roads because we start declaring everything a WMA and do all these things and use public's money to create them and so forth, so.
Matt, being on Roads Committee, we've talked a lot about the public hasn't always been really respectful of our road closures and pulling down gates and that. You said Lake Town and Flat Road have not had these closure dates before?
That's correct.
Or it hasn't been enforced?
Right.
Do you foresee those? I mean, those ones we've talked about how many cabins and how much, access people are historically used to up there. Do you foresee, haven't seen a lot of
I think
enforcement up there?
I do think there will be some enforcement, but I think one of the things that we're looking forward to is that by having this resolution passed, that allows us to call the sheriff and say, hey, these roads have been closed by the council and these guys are violating that. Now that actually gives them some teeth to do something, where if we don't have anything officially published, then
We thought of putting like cameras or?
we haven't thought about putting cameras.
I think this is one of the best ways to actually not waste money. We can save a lot of money by closing these, to what you've set these at, just because of the abuse, and then we have to go redo the roads because of that abuse.
It actually
That's
gives
a lot of money. It doesn't take very many miles of abuse to basically rob that budget line.
No, a lot of these roads that we've proposed closures on recently, we used to have to go up and spend a week or two repairing them every time before we could open them. And Jeremy's here, and I wish one of our grader guys was here as well. But a lot of these are getting opened with very little need to go up and fix them all. So, and last year, one of the biggest ones we spent a lot of our time on was the Lake Town Road. So.
I hope so. I hope that the public will respect
It also gives us a chance to get in there and do some work and get them up to speed so that when they are open, that they are safe for traveling public. If not, we're still fighting, traffic, or we have to close them and there's people up there camping, and it's nice to have something that we can go work behind if the time permits to before they're open, so. Any other questions?
Other questions?
No, looks good to me.
Thank you.
Well thought out.
I move to suspend the rules and pass resolution 2024-22.
Second.
Moved and seconded, we suspend the rules and pass resolution 2024-22 seasonal access restrictions for county roads. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? It is unanimous. Thank you very much on that. The other business. Looks like I'm the only one going to the One Utah Summit.
No, I'm gonna be there. I will be there because I have to do my rural youth graduation, so.
I'll work it out with Micah tomorrow for sure.
It is during a council meeting.
Yeah, it's overlapping a council
Can work around that.
Okay, terrific. Homecoming parade, any additions, deletions there?
I'll go on there.
And I am not able to be there. no.
I'm still planning on it, but if you do, please call Micah. Any additions, deletions with USAC?
You can add me to that.
Okay. Council member reports. Let's start with Mark.
Since our last meeting, haven't had any other official meetings, so nothing to report.
It's been a whole week.
A whole week ago. Thanks, Catherine.
Nolan.
Not even on for that one.
Nolan?
I echo what Mark said. I think I'm good.
I got nothing, thank you.
Catherine?
Just so you're aware, on the directors meeting, the UAC Board of Directors had a really good discussion on whether to support the state in a lawsuit against the U.S. Supreme Court so that we can reclaim our state sovereignty. And there was a vote taken, and it was in favor of supporting this lawsuit, but they need $1,000 from each county to help support this and to pay for it. So just so you're aware, they are asking for money from Cache County, and we will be, I guess, do we have to do a budget amendment for that? Oh, thank you. Go ahead, Micah.
Thing on that. So yeah, I apologize. I forgot to bring this up during the budget opening.
Yeah.
But what UAC is asking for is a voluntary contribution from each county to contribute to an amicus brief, a friend of the court brief, that UAC is basically they're going to hire some attorneys to write that on behalf of UAC in support of the state of Utah in their lawsuit against the federal government.
Thank you for clarifying that.
I think the Farm Bureau was asking or doing some on that as well. Did they talk about that?
They're actually, I think they're partnering, aren't they?
Yes.
With all of
So that's the one Javanoy was asking if the county would go in, so I think it's a.
Utah Lands something.
Yeah,
Trust.
Utah Lands Council.
Council, yeah, the trust they're doing. I think it's a necessary and great thing. I think we ought to support it.
If you guys are supportive of that, I think what we can do is make that payment out of the council's budget, and if there needs to be a budget opening to backfill that expense, we can take care of that at the December budget opening. But I think there may in our professional and technical line in the council's budget, I think we probably have room there. I can look into that.
How do you feel about that?
I'm in agreement.
Okay, we're all in
That's a
agreement.
good idea.
Agreement, okay. You take a look at that, and
Thank you,
that's how we'll
Micah.
proceed. Thanks for bringing that up, Barbara.
And that's all I have.
Carl?
Nothing. Oh.
I met with Julie Hollis Terrell, the Visitors Bureau, just to kind of go over her budget and kind of get a better understanding of how that department, it was very enlightening. I feel like I'm learning all the time. And also in my role on the local homeless council, there's a lot going on. And we had a coalition of county and city leaders and some legislators, and just trying to discuss the overall problem. We have a lot of different service providers that are doing a lot. So how can we pull everything together and say where do we need to move forward as a county and as a 3-county area? And so that is kind of an ongoing conversation that's pretty, I think is pretty important. Our Logan Chief Police was there. And then also, just so you're all aware, the Code Blue legislation starts October 15th. I don't anticipate that we'll have any days below 15 below zero, starting October 15th. But the WAB Warming Center, yeah, I hope not. The WAB Warming Center does not open until November 29th this year. So in that time period between October 15th and November 29th, if there is a Code Blue called by the state, the Father Jason and St. John's Episcopal Church have offered to open their doors. It won't be the Warming Center. The Warming Center has all kinds of reporting requirements and different things that they do. To do a Code Blue, you could open any building anywhere and just let people come in out of the cold. There's just no requirements. And they have generously offered to open that for us. So they'll be, I'll be working with them to coordinate volunteers. If there's some of those nights we need people from 7 to 1 and from 1 to 7. And so just kind of keep your ears perked up. If the weather starts to turn bad, we're going to need to throw. Last year we did it really quickly at the Veterans Center. This year we're a little more prepared, and so I think we'll be in better shape. So that's kind of the things I've been working on.
Well, thank you. My report, I have 2 questions, but I'm going to hold those off until next meeting, or in 2 weeks, because they will reflect what we're going to be doing then. So the only other report I could give in the past week would be a fishing report, but I won't do that. So, with that, we'll go ahead and adjourn. Oh, what question?
Are we good on the tentative that we've been talking? I know it's a public meeting, but I just need to make sure that we're not gonna make any changes for printing stuff. That's
Everyone agree with that was sent to them?
Yes.
It hurts.
Yeah.
I know, I just have to.
Yeah, I think we're all in agreement there with what was sent.
We can always scale back.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly, and that we will. So, okay.
Thank you, Craig.
Thank you very